Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Midweek Matters Show or Jam and Cheese Show. Well, it's none of those actually because I'm joined by Wade Graham, who's come up with a great name. Well,
it's no cheese, so we're Graham Crackers. Thought about it on the way over. Although cheese does go well with Graham Crackers. That could be a spin-off, maybe.
That's a great idea.
When cheese is available, I don't know what his commitment is today. Probably training, doing his real job. When he's available and I'm possibly available at the same time, we'll do a spin-off. We'll call it the Graham Crackers and Cheese.
With the Graham Crackers and Cheese. And we'll actually get Graham Crackers in and have them with cheese.
Well, don't tempt me with a good time.
Speaking of good times, the Beer, Footy and Food Festival, we're doing a very special live show there coming out on Friday, I believe, Charlie, with myself as hosting. We're at North Sydney Oval. We are hosting Darryl Broman and the big delicious Wendell Saylor, talking all things old school rugby league, helping promote the Beer, Footy and Food Festival. Have you been before?
I've been to the one
in Newtown.
I've been to the one in Newtown, and it's it's an awesome day. Like you said, just talking, it's like going back in time a little bit, all the food trucks, all the beers, just a good day out at the footy. But to hear that they're expanding and they're doing it at 2 events this year, North Sydney, a bit of royalty when it comes to stadiums and heritage. Like that's awesome to get behind that event. I don't know about the North Sydney one, but I'll definitely be at the Newtown one. The Newtown team still feeds in to our club at the Sharkies, so a lot of our boys who don't play first grade go back to that reserve grade team. So, I could see you out there.
Yeah, well, I don't know what our plans are for that day or what our commitments are, but I want to go. I've been before.
It's good fun.
And we went to Bob Hawke Brewery, had a bit of Chinese before we even went there. A few more crafties, a bit more food. And then I was out at the game and I was like, I think that might be Josh Mansour. Yeah. But you know, and you're like, wow. And then sometimes you'd actually forget there was a game of football on, but it's anyone.
Well, maybe we should leave that one at Newtown free in the calendar of all work. There's no podcasting, no commitment outside. We'll talk to the boss.
Just go and have fun.
Just go and have fun. Maybe a mid-year.
Cancel any opportunities.
Yeah, just a mid-year relax, drop the shoulders, let's get out there and have a beer and have some good food and watch some footy.
It would be good. It's a great day. Anyone that wants to go and have a good time. I think the one at North Sydney Oval is actually happening on Magic Round. May 18th. Yeah, well. So if you can't get to Magic Round and you're looking for some football to watch live in the flesh in Sydney, get down to North Sydney Oval. Get your tickets at beerfootyfood.com. So speaking from experience, great afternoon.
Awesome day.
Yeah. Round 10 is nearly here, Wade. And there's a bit of news to get through first. So at time of recording, it appears as if David Fifita will be leaving the Titans and joining either the Penrith Panthers or the Sydney Roosters. It's dominated the headlines all week. It's difficult for me to see how the Titans hierarchy allowed this clause in, because I think this was always going to happen.
Can you explain the clause to me? Because I'm not quite 100% across it. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I'm not sure how it works in operation. What is it, by the way, before side topic? I don't know where all these clauses all of a sudden are coming from. Remember the Schuster clause, the performance clause? I'd never heard of that before. Now here's another clause. Like kudos to the players and the player managers for sneaking this through in the fine print, because they seem to be popping up more and more often, don't they? The just in case clause.
Yeah. Well, I think club management have got to learn that no is a sentence. So if you come and say, hey, my player is going to sign this like multi-million-dollar deal. This isn't just like an average. This is like your marquee man. But he wants an option in for round 10 for this season to be able to decide whether or not he wants to keep this contract going. You just go, no. And when the agent or the manager starts to speak, you just go, no, this wasn't a conversation. It was just a no. We can't agree to that.
Yeah.
Because you're setting yourself up for this. And if the client, the player, doesn't like that, to be honest, I don't really reckon the overwhelming majority of the time, the player, it just gives them more flexibility. But do they truly care about these clauses? I don't think they do.
It's funny, like, because you can read a lot into it, but it just sounds to me like your marquee players, like you said, it's not a small time deal. This is your number one guy, your highest paid player. So he needs to almost be the most invested to the club and to the team,
and the most secure,
and to have a clause in there. It's almost like they're hedging their bets a little bit. It's like, I'm going to give my all, and I'm going to give my all to the club, all to the team, but just in case it doesn't work out, I'll have an opportunity to go out the back door and seek some opportunities elsewhere. And again, like, kudos to the player and the player manager for sneaking that in. But from a management side of things, like trying to put together a roster, trying to attract other players to your team, trying to strive for success in a tough competition, you can't be leaving yourself vulnerable like that. I wouldn't imagine.
Well, I guess the Titans would argue we needed to do that to, secure the services of David Fifita. That is an argument, but it appears as though David Fifita's time at the Titans will be up at the end of the season. Could be wrong. Again, I think they'd be long odds for him to be playing for the Titans in next season. So he's basically got an option between the Penrith Panthers, the back-to-back champions, or the 18-19 back-to-back champions in the Sydney Roosters. Now, this almost creates another side talking point that people aren't really discussing, is the fact that the ability for the top teams to attract the top talent and keep the top talent. And I think the Dragons, Shane Flanagan made an approach to Fifita's management and said, like, we want to talk to him, and he just said he doesn't want to go there. Yeah.
Well, I think from David's point of view, he's almost done it in reverse, how a normal player would do it. It seems that way. If he heads to the Roosters or to the Penrith Panthers, normally, like, your traditional path through is you come through as a rookie, you get a decent amount of money, like upgraded from a rookie, you grind away, you're a part of a team that has success, and then because of that success, it launches you onto the that next tier of the level that next tier of contract, and we've seen this with Penrith and the Roosters over time, players having to leave because other clubs come in, they see that success, they want to take the blueprint or take that player away from that system and hopefully implement in their own system. But he's almost done the reverse. He came onto the scene as a rookie and was just blowing everyone away. Remember the early days he was at the Broncos? He's scoring 50, 60-metre tries, just opening up the games. And then he got the big deal down at the Titans. He left the Broncos system. So he got paid first. And he had individual success and success probably playing Origin, but he never was a part of that team success. So he got the big contract first, and now it seems that he's willing to take a little bit of a backward step.
Financially a backward
step to go to, obviously the Roosters and Penrith, extremely successful clubs, to take a financially backward step to go somewhere and have that team success, which is the indication when the Dragons approached, which they probably would have had to offer the most money financially, you'd think so, going up against the Roosters and the Penrith Panthers. But for him to show no interest at all, it says to me that he wants to go and have team success somewhere. And, there's no bigger team success than winning a premiership. So
where would you go? If you're David Fifita?
If I was David Fifita, I'd go to Penrith. Just because of the fact that they got Dylan Edwards locked up long term, the fact that they have Nathan Cleary locked up long term, Ivan Cleary's locked up long term, the stability in that club, the junior system that I know firsthand about that they've got right. They're always going to have talent coming through that ranks, and he's going to go there and not have to. He's going to go there and just have to do a job, whether it be the edge or in the middle. I'd most likely see him playing on that left edge, and either Sorensen going back towards the middle in that role he played before Kikau left or possibly Martin moving into the middle, but each much to muchness, however they balance out their side. And he's just going to go there and do a job. He'll probably improve in his defensive application because that's a non-negotiable out there, the way they defend and that system that they have out there. And if you look at the Roosters, although they have stability in Robbo and a lot of their core players as well in Teddy and a couple of other guys, they're going to have heaps of player turnover. Kiri's finished. Jared's finishing up. Kiri's finishing up. Manu's off to...
He's going.
So there's going to be a lot of turnover in that squad, and he might get thrust with a little bit more responsibility than he really wants. Like he might just want to go to Penrith and just play, do his job, become that damaging player. And he's going to get more opportunities at Penrith, as in
playing outside Nathan Cleary.
The way their system is set up, he's just going to sit on that edge. Isaiah Yeo and Dylan Edwards will control the middle. Nathan will play how Nathan plays and call the shots. He'll sit outside Luai. Luai won't be there, whoever the new 6 is, and just get early ball when it's one-on-one opportunities. And for me, if I was playing in the NRL, that's a scary proposition, having to deal with that guy one-on-one out on the edge when you have to worry about all the other stuff going on in that Penrith system.
Yeah, I guess, you know, when you start to look at the makeup of the Penrith Panthers team, how they've sustained success for such a long period of time now, it does appear to be systematic. Do you think he can fit into that system? We know what he's going to be able to do with the ball. That is, there's no case to argue there. It's the stuff off the ball that Penrith are so good at. The way, you know, the reason why Viliami Kickout and Liam Martin were so good is the intensity that they bring with their line speed, the intensity bringing with their kick chase, and the ferocity of things like kick pressure, all-round work ethic. Can David fill that role?
Well, I think if he goes there, he's going to have to. Like, there's a little bit of... We talk about it when he signed at the Titans. He was the breakout rookie, the young star, the young tearaway forward, who probably hadn't mastered all the aspects of the footy, like as in the systems, defensive systems and attacking systems, but it was just a phenomenal physical talent with his skill set. But then if he goes to that and he comes down to the Titans as a marquee player, right, he still signs as a big signing at Penrith. But when you walk into that change room and you look around, and there's the Nathan Clearys, there's Isaiah Yeos, there's Liam Martins. These guys all play Origin in Australia. They're at his, and they've won premiership. So they're not just at his level, they're probably above his level in certain senses. You're forced to have a little bit of a, you know, not an ego hit, but you need to be a little bit of humility when you walk into that dressing room, particularly when you're replacing guys like James Fisher Harris, who was left. And that's the gap to fill. I don't think you can come in there with the attitude of, I'm going to come and bring my game here. Sure, his strengths are going to come out in that system, but if you walk into that system, you need to be understanding that I've got to make my game fit this system. And if my game fits this system, it'll get the best out of my best attributes.
I guess when you watch the Titans, they go to Fifita a lot. The expectation on him to deliver on every play is going to be lessened. Probably the amount of ball he receives will be lessened due to the other strike weapons within their side. I think, again, I said this yesterday, I'm no recruitment manager. Penrith know far more than I do. But I guess for me, being like, I guess a fan or player, a fan or being that like, if I was playing a computer game here, which I'm not, wait a year. Obviously, James Fisher Harris leaves. I would wait a year and then go after Stefano Utoikamanu. And because I think for the balance of the team, like I think I've heard Penrith, or maybe I'm mistaken, but around you can only have one highly paid edge back rower. So that was when they had a call to make on Kickout or Martin. It was never going to be able to both because that would mean there was too much money tied up in your edge back row. And I think a lot of teams have that strategy. They have one really good high paid centre, the other one less pay, but with more upside available to them.
Yeah, well, I think
it's the same with edge back rowers, I think.
All footy managers and recruitment would have like positions, like they'd have their squad, 30-man squad, then they have their positions they need to fill. So we need 5 centres or 5 outside backs, and then they'd have a percentage of the cap proportionate to that position. And you give and take. Like, it's not going to be a perfect system all the time. You need to manage that. But I hear that in what you're saying. Also, I think at the time, like, say the decision between Kickow and Liam Martin, at that time, clubs would have been coming in harder for Kickow. So the decision was probably made a little bit for them.
Yes, that's true.
Like, because at that stage, Marto was just sort of, he was still the tremendous competitor he is, but he hadn't played Origin. He hadn't played for Australia. Kickow he was never going to play Origin because he's Fijian, but he was an international, and he probably had a little bit more of that X factor, that game breaking factor.
He was the best back rower in the competition when he signed at the Dogs, So he was the best.
Sometimes that decision is made for the recruitment team as well. And another thing with the Penrith team is they're in a position where, they've had long-term success, sustained success. They've got key positions locked up. And we don't have a looking glass into their junior development system. Like, I'm telling you, there would be youngsters in there, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, that they have marked, ready to play. We don't know what they're going to get out of them. We don't know what positions they are, but they would have an eye on them already, and they would have an understanding that in 2 or 3 years' time, this guy's going to give us X amount of games, X amount of value because he'll be on a base contract, and they're willing to back their juniors in. That's just speaking from, because I know how big that junior league is out there. So they're in a position now where you're right, like they can be sitting back for a year and go, oh, maybe we have a shot at Stefano. Or they go, well, listen, David, like, they're doing due diligence and good management as well for their club. Like, he's a premier player, David Fifita. It'd be poor by them not to at least enter the race and have a look at it, I think. And then if it, during the talks, no doubt they'll talk to David about if he can fit into their system and
maybe they're even planning to adapt and change their system. Because like, they had to adapt and change when Coruscant left. They will have to adapt and change when Luai leaves. So obviously, they had to adapt and change when Kickow left. Maybe there'll be less emphasis on defence. Yeah, and more like, well, we've got the strike in Fifita, so we can sort of change our. Well, it's a little bit of give and take and a natural adjustment that they'll make. I think what will happen, though, there's obviously James Fisher-Harris has left. I probably didn't anticipate such a domino effect like this happening. Which has so, if Fifita goes to the Roosters, I think Crichton then becomes available. But then they're saying they'll keep the both. There's Jaden Sewer down at the Dragons.
He played well on the weekend, mate. He was their best player.
He's having a really good season. Like, will he get his head turned? Like, obviously, he's a Queenslander. Go back to the Gold Coast.
Well, he's got a relationship with Bennett too. So.
Yes. Yeah, Sal's are looking to clean people out. So there's going to be ripple effects from this story for weeks and months to come. But it's what an exciting position for David Fifita to be in, for that individual to be so sought after. You've got to give him credit.
The other one that comes into mind is if David does leave, like, there's a big chunk of money there for the Titans, right? Who do they go after? Did they go after Jerome Hughes?
I think Melbourne shut that down and said he's staying.
But like they're going to be in a position with what is it, 1.2 million, maybe more. They're going to be in a position to really affect the market too.
Yeah, well, they will do. I guess just with them, they're going to have to, again, pay overs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of makes you wonder how much the NRL need to review this around. And look, you've got to give credit for the teams working their backsides off, the whole team of people behind the scenes to develop talent, keep talent, create a system where people stay for less. But unfortunately, and those clubs, they don't like hearing this, but it's to the detriment of the competition. So we never want, and you never will get true like equality.
No.
And you don't probably want that because it stops striving for better. Like, you don't want you prefer the capitalist style nature over
I agree.
the communist style nature of like, oh no, we've all got to be,
we can't be pulling the leaders down, because if we do that, pull the leaders back, the game goes stagnant. We need our best thinkers and our best innovators pushing the best clubs forward and dragging the rest along. And it's always going to be, like, clubs are going to have their ups and downs with their personnel, roster management, coaches, success on and off the field. But the moment we start trying to pull clubs back and keep them in check in terms of restriction, like there's restriction enough within the salary cap that's as even as we can even it out. I know. But we need clubs to push ahead, and then it forces clubs like the Cronullers, who aren't as big financially, without as big sponsorships. You need to find people in your football club who are going to get creative with their marketing, innovative with their ideas, and they need to think outside the square to compete with the top tier clubs, and that in general drags the competition forward.
I know what you're saying, but look, I really admire what Penrith have done. They've won 3 in a row now, but are they turning into the Manchester City of the Premier League, where everyone's just going, well,
you got to remember, Melbourne went to 8 grand finals almost in a row.
Yeah,
missing a year there, missing a year there.
But again, is that what the public want? Like, it's because we are an entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Like, how much of this is what the public want? And if the Panthers, they're looking red hot favourites for this season, and then they bring in Fifita, or just as they lose Fisher Harris, all the fans go like, yes, he's going. Like, we've got a chance now. And then they bring in Fifita, and it's like, oh, like they'll be. I don't know. If there's a market on Ladbrokes for next season, I'd say Penrith would be front runners, even though they're losing Luai,
Fisher Harris,
and Fisher Harris. Yeah,
I hear what you're saying, but for me, I don't mind it. Like, if they're the best. They're the best for a reason. They're doing the right things. Yeah. It's going to take someone to be better to beat them. Like that. Like, someone's got to be better. A coach has got to be better. He's got to coach and prepare his team to be better to take them on, and players. A team has to be better than them to beat them. I don't mind that. Yeah. They've put a marker in the sand. Like, I've run out of good things to say about that team. Like, 3 in a row in the modern era. 2 in a row was only achieved by the Roosters not too long ago. For them to do 3 in a row, lose that first one against Melbourne the way they did, again, they're going to be favourites this year, possibly favourites next year. Like, if they're good enough to do that, good on them. It's going to take a really good coach to outcoach Ivan at the moment in his system, and it's going to take a good team to beat him. I'm happy with that.
Well, speaking of good coaches, Wayne Bennett looks set to join South Sydney we're hearing reports of anywhere between 3 years and 5 years. Wayne Bennett at the ripe old age of 74 landing a 5-year deal. Well done, my friend. It's brilliant, and I like this that. What's happened with Bennett recently is he's had these contingency plans, or this like, after me, this will follow. So it was Jason Demetriou at South Sydney. I don't understand quite why Souths just didn't make a play to keep him there. Anyway, he goes to the Dolphins because it's the new team. Obviously, if they are a 5-year deal team, I think Peter V'landys is on the record as saying he wants Wayne Bennett to coach the 18th team, whenever that may be, whenever that team comes in. So there's going to be someone else is going to have to take control of that team if Wayne takes this long tenure at South. But do you think it's a good move?
Well, I think 2 things on that, or 3 things. I think it had to be Wayne to coach the Dolphins, the new franchise to come in. Only he sort of had that power and that understanding and the pull up there to pull it off the way they did. Like the start of their season last year with the Dolphins, how they played. The introduction of the new team, the first new team brought in since the Gold Coast Titans, and they're established now. There's a footprint there, and I feel like only someone like Wayne Bennett could have done that. The South Sydney drama and the mess that they're in, I feel like it's only going to be someone like Wayne Bennett who can fix that. Like, he's in his absolute element at the moment. Like, he's got a bounce in his step. You see his latest media when he's talking to the journalists or on camera, and he's witty with his replies and he's cracking jokes. He's got that Clint Eastwood smile.
Something seems a little off.
Yeah, but he's just sort of in his element, and he's hitting it back with like.
Well, whenever he behaves differently, like, for me
It's like he's got
personally,
something up his sleeve.
I don't know. I just can't figure this out. I'm perplexed at why he's being so open.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but I
it
feel like
makes you wonder, right? Because whenever someone behaves differently, it's almost like a bit of a red flag.
yeah.
What is going on over there?
He's got some cards up his sleeves. He's been around the game longer than all of us. But I feel like he's the guy for South. The length of deal is completely up to them. I would have felt like 3 years would probably be enough. But if he's
got the power to get 5.
If he's pushing hard for 5,
they're
well,
desperate selves.
Good on him. And then again, if there's an opportunity for an 18th team to come in, and say South have got some guys underneath Wayne doing their apprenticeship, as coaches have done beforehand, well, maybe there's an opportunity for the game to step in and sort of get Wayne into that position with South.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell with so much water to go under the bridge, but again, just on Wayne, he's just in his element right now. He's seen it all, been there, done it all, been through this before. Like you said, he's holding the cards, he's holding the power. There's no doubt there's interest from South, and they want to get a deal done.
I think it's clear as well.
There might be a few more things to come yet.
Well, I guess it's a watch and see what happens at a club like Parramatta over the next couple of weeks. They've got some very difficult games coming up. I think it's clear that Russell Crowe is handling the negotiations. They need that big dog in there to get Wayne over the line. And also, I think South fundamentally need a dictator. They need someone to come in and say, I'm taking control of this ship. Follow me. Someone to bring the best out of some of the bigger personality style players, and then he'll have to make some adjustments and be quite active in that transfer market.
Yeah, well,
recruitment market.
I think you made the best point on one of the things we're doing. We do plenty together these days where it's been well publicised. There's no doubt that the playing group hasn't performed up to its standard over the last 18 months. There's no doubt the coaching staff haven't performed, but there's no doubt there's other issues at that club too, internally, whether there's fractions on the board or there's just, for some reason, they can't just pull together in a line and set a direction for everyone to get on. And you made the point that if you have someone like Wayne, he actually comes in and he sits above all of that.
Yeah.
And he just says, well, bicker all you want in the background, do what you need to do from a business sense and a board sense and a club sense. Leave the football program to me, and I'll call you if I need anything. You just stay out. And I think that's what they need for the time being, and I think that's why he's the perfect fit. I don't think if there's anyone else in that category that can really step into a club like South Sydney with the issues going on and set the football program apart and say that. Let me just separate it. The players will do the right thing by the club, and I'll make sure they're doing their duties and their obligations, but just lead the football program to me. I think only Wayne gets that done.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's probably another guy that gets that sort of stuff done would be Craig Bellamy.
Yeah.
He's at the Melbourne Storm currently. Unknown what he's going to do next year. But this week, they take on the Sharks. Huge rivalry between these teams, and this game is set up to be an absolute classic because it's obviously 1 versus 2, top of the table clash. Both have began the season 7-1. I think probably of the seasons, I think the Sharks have had the better season so far. But when the Sharks play well, immediately you go to they need to beat some of the big dogs. Now they did in round 1 against the New Zealand Warriors. Obviously the Warriors have dipped off, but that was still a tough game. Where are the Sharks at, Wade?
Well, I think that we're going to see over the next probably 5 or 6 weeks because it will start at the start, top of the table clash, Sharks versus Storm. We'll have to check the history, but I think the last time there was a game like this down in Melbourne between the Sharks and the Storm we were playing for the minor premiership in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
So we haven't, the Melbourne have been up the top of the table since then, but certainly we probably haven't. Maybe 2017 we'll floating around the year after, but yeah, I can't recall a game where it's been a top of the table clash between our two clubs. And certainly through that period, 15, 16, 17, 18, there was a little bit of a healthy rivalry between our two clubs.
When you say that, that's putting it lightly. There's a fair bit of hatred there, right?
Yeah, well, you know yourself, when you have a period at the top of the table or, success at a club and other clubs match that success at the same time, normally you're lucky to play. Some clubs you only play once a year with the way the draw works out and the idiosyncrasies in the draws. But when you play a team who you might play twice in a year, then you play them in the finals.
And maybe twice in the finals.
Twice in the finals. And all of a sudden you verse a team, 9-10 times in the space of 3 seasons. There's a familiarity with the teams. There's a rivalry that's created.
It's competing to be the best as well.
And the bigger the game, the bigger the rivalry. If you take something from them that they want or they take something from you, it goes into the back of your mind. And we had that rivalry for sure during that.
Do you think this rivalry still exists?
I think it's a different rivalry now. Like all those guys, like Cameron's retired, Billy, Chambers, Cooper Cronk's retired, I've retired, Jimmy, Maloney, Gowser, Louis. So that was the core of it. But the clubs, there's a healthy respect between the clubs.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in, Nico Hines come from Melbourne. Darfur Nukin came from Melbourne to our club. There's a healthy respect between the players. And certainly all the players from that grand final have moved on majority from both teams. Maybe only Munster remains. But there's still a healthy respect and role between the clubs. And in terms of where the two clubs sit, the scary thing for the NRL with Melbourne is they're at the top of the table or they're second. And I think they've been good in most of their games without being great. They haven't really hit their straps. They've struggled with injury and players coming in and out and consistency within games, but they're still doing the job. They're still getting it done. And for us Sharks, we're at the top of the table, but there's still a lot of question marks. The knock on our team over the last few years is we haven't been able to get the job done in the games that count. We want the so-called big games against the Melbournes, against the Penriths, against the Broncos, and we've gone out in the last 2 final series pretty meekly. The one thing I would say, sitting on this side and being a part of that group, is they're in the best shape they've been in for a long time. Sometimes you need to go through that pain of not putting your best foot forward and not playing your best footy when it counts and losing games. Sometimes that pain spurs you on and motivates you and gives you that hunger and drive to want more success. And listen, they've done what they've had to do this year. They've beaten the teams in front of it. There was a slight hiccup against the Tigers, which could have been a blessing in disguise.
How important is everything that Coach Craig Fitzgibbon does this week in terms of how he's acting in and around the players? Because, look, he'll be talking this down. He's talked it down publicly. Do you think he'll be driving it up? And also, I'm thinking back to, when you play, you know when the boss, when it means more to the boss.
Yeah,
like they have a consistent approach and they treat each game as probably the most important thing that's happening in the world right now. And rightly so. But you notice when there's something personal between a coach and a coach, or there's a slight little bit more desperation and emphasis. And how much do you think Fitzgibbon will be giving away to his players?
I think, Fitzy's pretty measured at the best of times, but there's no doubt.
They all are,
yeah,
though.
But
it's some of the things that they don't mean to do it, but you just, like, the players are almost not behind the coach's back, but like, geez.
Fitzy has that in him. He's such a competitor too. You can tell when there's something on the line, and you get a sense of that as a player. But I would say, being around the team, like, and the boys at the moment where their headspace is, that they want the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, they want the opportunity. Like, you can say you block out the noise, and you can to an extent as a player, but they know the question marks that are out there. They know the public perception where currently the team sits, and they want the opportunity. Like, they're doing that. They're doing all they can at the moment, and they're winning the games. The games that they have to, and who's in front of them. But they want the opportunity to test where they're at with these big clubs and these big games. And I'll just say, like, for the club at the moment and the Sharkies team and Fitzy's coaching style, you're starting to see the strength in the system rather than the strength in the player. And this is what Penrith and Melbourne and those clubs that have sustained success are so good at. You start to see the strength of the system come out, and players.
I like that phrase. I want to steal that.
Yeah, that's all right. We Graham crackers. We can share our.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably say it.
You see
a
it,
lot.
Penrith, right? Nathan Cleary is the world's best half at the moment, but you take him out and someone like Snyder, who is a good quality half, and can come in and still get the job done in that system. You take out Api Coruscant, you put in Mitch Kenny. the system takes over. The player still needs to do their job and you still need to play at a high level, but the system allows you to cover that. With the Sharks, Tricky comes out, you see Daniel Atkinson come in, the system takes over, that the players still play to their strength. Talakai moves to the bench, Carl Iro comes into the centre, he comes off, he still plays. Like, you see the best part of his footy, but the system still stays the same and allows the boys to play that style. And I didn't really view footy in that aspect as much until Craig came down, and I started to learn a lot from him in the way he approached his preparation and his footy philosophy. And being someone who spent so long at the club, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears I put into the club in trying to become a successful team and trying to make the club successful. Like, it's so much comfort sitting on the other side now, knowing that the club's in good hands with Fitzy, and not just Fitzy, his staff, obviously DJ Hetty and Steve Price, they're doing the defence with Fitzy, but they're starting to get to a spot where once they get over the hump that we're talking about, producing in the big moments and playing those big games, once they get over it, the system's in place to have sustained success. So it's exciting if you're a Sharkies fan. Yeah,
no doubt about it. We'll get stuck into the games. The first one, Thursday night, 4th v 5th. The Dolphins up against the Manly Seagulls. Manly were in complete control. The Dolphins flying. Herbie Farnworth returns, which is great news for every Dolphins fan out there. Where'd you see this one going?
It's going to be tight, this one. I'm actually tipping a Dolphins upset.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know how much of outsiders they would be, and it's a bit early. They're going to feature in my same game multi, but I just feel like
the Dolphins in this.
I just feel like Bennett's got a little bit of a twinkle in his eye at the moment, and he's two-stepping around the media, and I think he's just got the magic dust out on those boys at the moment. So I feel like the Dolphins might win at Suncorp.
Well, they're paying $2.10 at the moment, Wade, on Ladbrokes, and Manly $1.73. What's your same game multi for that
So
game?
I'm going to go the Dolphins to win just at the line.
Oh, on the line, so they're
at the 210, is it?
No, so some for Dolphins scratch. So I'll
Dolphins just to win.
Just to win, yeah.
Dolphins win. I think if Dolphins win, Averillo scores a try anytime.
Anytime for Averillo. Let's have a.
He was brilliant last week against the Cows.
Do you know what? Is Averillo playing?
Yeah, he was. I put him in before when I was checking.
Oh yeah, he is. Where is he on Ladbrokes? I'm looking up and it's got Ray Stone before him on anytime. I was like, no. Oh, there we are. Sorry, I'm blind. Averillo anytime. Yeah,
and then a bit of value. I feel like maybe the youngest Trbojevic playing in the back row.
Ben Trbojevic.
Might find a try anytime. So I don't know. I don't put together multis often.
Hello.
Not like Jared Timms from Ladbrokes. He's always across the same game multi.
He's all about it, isn't he? Well, mate, if Ben Trbojevic, Averillo score and the Dolphins win, that'll get you a very healthy $23.96.
All right, well, first time at a same game multi. If it gets up, Timsy, I'm coming for your job.
You nearly got one in Vegas the last time you were on the show. You were so close. Who did you call first try again?
Joey Manu is called first try.
And
Broncos to win.
Broncos to win.
Yeah. I tried to bite off more than I could chew, but it was exciting for the...
But, well...
It was exciting for the watch.
Yeah. I reckon that's one of them where you maybe cash out. Maybe. I've got the... Manly have got to come back and win that one for me. Panthers v Bulldogs, big rivalry, lots of returning players. We talk about systems v systems. Yeah. Who goes back to the Penrith Panthers? We've got Crichton going back, Kick-Out going back. It's Crichton's first time back. Salmon. Obviously, Coach Cam Serraldo goes back. I think. Matt Burton. That's a bit old.
Now, but it's still, like that familiarity, even just going to the ground, walking on the field before the game. A lot of those all those boys have premierships there. So there's a lot of great memories, and there's going to be an interesting clash. You know what it's like coming up against your mates, particularly Crichton, first year.
First time back, as captain
is he
as well.
Right edge or left edge? He bounces around, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think I had May said he was going to be up against him.
Okay,
who have you got?
I've got Penrith.
Yeah, okay.
You can't tip against them to lose out there. They don't lose many at Penrith. Although the Dogs have been super impressive. They were great again on the weekend. It was a tough game to get any rhythm in, but they did what they had to do. They controlled possession in that second half perfectly. Once they got to the front, it was good to see them just kick the corners, didn't search for more, didn't have to search for more. They just were relentless in the way they just had the West Tigers coming off their try line. So they're trending upwards. I think I didn't have them in my 8 at the start of the year, but I feel like if they keep going, they're going to be definitely in that, maybe not top 4, but definitely that pushing for, 6th, 5th, maybe a home semi for them.
I like it, Wade. I like your optimism. No doubt you can easily guess who I'm going to choose. That'll be the Dogs. Reason why it's a hard find to find a reason. I love what the Bulldogs are doing. I think the Panthers are going to be distracted by the news of signing David Fifita. That's my evidence behind that choice.
I've actually tipped against Penrith twice this year.
Have you?
Yeah. One was the Roosters game when Nath was out. And I thought,
yeah.
I got mud on my face. And then I tipped against them, against Manly, and Manly won. That was the week after that. I thought there might have been a rebound, but I can't tip against them again. I'm going to have to tip them all year now. I've done my quota tipping against them.
Well, they don't lose many. Eels coming up against the Broncos. Wade. Eels off a bye, which should freshen them up. But no Moses, no Gutherson this time around. Moses hoping to be back next week by all accounts for a bit of an Origin audition. I think personally it's more about how to save Parramatta.
Season, yeah.
Broncos, look, not at their best last week. Probably overplayed their hand a little. They lose Adam Reynolds. They're going to have to get used to that. The young kid comes in to replace Reynolds as there's no Madden this week.
Yeah, I think with a week preparation, young Rogers, he should be able to do enough, do his job. He basically just needs to kick well, right? You need to just get him in there, put the ball in good positions, and that's take control of the last play option. Because the only issue with the Broncos is when Adam's out is they can get lost on their last play. They play so much footy and they're so exciting. All of a sudden, the 5th play sneaks up and Ezra's got to deal with it or Reese has got to deal with it, and they deal with it without a plan. And then that's when you can turn over cheap possession or give up easy meters, easy field position. I feel like with a young half, he can just come in and focus on that 5th play option. Play his footy, play his style, get the team around the park, but just put the ball in tough position for the opposition. They've got so much strike. Like Walsh and Ezra Mam, they can turn a game on its head. They can find 18 points in 3 minutes. So it's a pretty simple focus. And although they're not at their best, it's a good opportunity for the Broncos to really take that next level. I know they went to a grand final last year. Talk about taking that next level, but the
responsibility for me falls on Carrigan.
Yeah.
So I think when Reynolds has been missing before, he'll. Again, I'm saying this without any stats in front of me, but I reckon if you looked, his receives to run ratio would be more. Well, hang on, how would it work? It's basically saying he passes the ball more. His receive to run ratio would suggest that he's passing the ball a lot more when Reynolds isn't there. I think he would even get more receives.
Yeah.
So he would be that first point of attack, get the ball to him, and then he would play to his halves out the back.
Yeah.
Or decide, you know what? Especially as well with the way last week transpired with, Carrigan would know if I give the ball to Walsh, things might happen, but it might not. So sometimes when you're in that position, you go, I'm just not going to give it to him.
Percentages.
I'm just not going to get. I'm going to get us to a kick, or I'm going to go into the line, get a quick play the ball, and then hopefully Walters will jump, and then it doesn't end up happening. And sometimes
it's a bit of patience. Patience with your footy. And I think I can see this being. I know Adam's out for a long time, but they've still got enough to cover him. The young half playing this week, Jock Madden will be in and around there when he's available. But if you look at the start of the year and you go, okay, we want Adam Reynolds to play. All we need him to play for us is 14 games of the year, right? And that gets it done. Like, when do you want him playing?
Back end.
You want him playing August, September, into the finals, right? So he gets an opportunity to freshen up his knee. He's going to have surgery on the bicep. That'll take some time to heal, but he'll be able to get a good block of running in. And some strength. They got enough in that team to cover him. They just need to get thereabouts, top 4 at the back end of the year, Adam comes in, adds that experience, adds that top tier kicking game, and they're better balanced without him because Carrigan learns a little bit about being more patient. Walsh probably learns a little bit more about not
some of those players, those key players are another year older and they'll have more experience. I think I would obviously with that experience just trust them a lot more to handle the absence of Adam Reynolds as opposed to this time last year. I'm assuming the Broncos for you. Yeah, Broncos for me as well. Tigers taking on the Knights. Knights chasing 3 in a row without Kalen Ponga. And the Tigers all of a sudden
Five on the trot, is it?
5 on the trot.
Is that old saying you don't know?
I think it is.
I think it is. I said it on the weekend because there's that old saying, you don't know you're a first grade coach until you've had 5 losses in a row. So Benji's...
I like that. I might steal that phrase as well. Well, that's brilliant.
Benji's... listen, there's no doubt they've improved a lot, the Tigers, since last week. They're playing with a lot of spirit. There's a lot of freedom, particularly with their young guys coming in. The young Galvin, he's looking great. Dream Buller. I'm taking Joey Manu's leaving. I'll put this publicly on the record that he's my favourite player in the NRL.
Who?
Joey Manu.
Oh, Joe, yeah, you have.
He's leaving. So I'm taking candidates and I'm looking, I'm scouting through the NRL at the moment for resumes who could.
And Jerome Buller's on the list.
He's on the short list.
Okay.
I think he's just so raw and so talented. He put a move on kick out last week. You know how kick out does a kick chase so well, but then he changes speeds again and goes at the fullback to put the pressure on him. Mate, it was like Jerome Buller just disappeared. He did a smoke bomb and just disappeared, made him miss, and he's just so raw. He's still learning the game, but he's so talented. I love watching him play, and they have that energy. Unfortunately, they got some injuries and some suspension. So Galvin's struggling. Caesar's suspended for a while now because of that.
Yeah,
hip drop-ish, call it whatever you want. So I think they'll struggle. Appy's still struggling with that back injury.
Who have you got in this one? I'm
going the other way. I'm going against the Tigers.
Oh, yeah. So Knights to continue their run. They've been good since no KP. They've really changed how they play. My same game multi.
This game? I hope it's not Tigers.
It is the Tigers.
Did you know all those facts I just said before you put your same game multi on?
I knew they went in great touch, but I think I could see the Knights underestimating them. So I've got the Tigers to win, Isaiah Papali'i to score anytime, and Jerome Buller to score at any time. That's paying $22.36. You can see, because they play off Appy a lot, Coruscant, bang, short ball Papali'i and Buller.
Just popping up, doing the right thing. Yeah. I like it.
That's what I'm seeing. And I think, look, the Knights, I think they've been good. They and more their ability to just hang in there, the amount of effort that they've put into their previous 2 games, I just don't know how much they can. They knew they needed to be up against the Dolphins, and they knew they needed to be up at home against the Warriors the past 2 weeks without Kalen Ponga. This week, I think they'll play the Tigers, and they might just dip.
Where are they playing at?
That is a
because I like where your head's at, and I like your bet. I like the sound of your bet. The only thing is, I think I had a missed call from Benji asking if I could put the boots on and play in the halves this week.
Oh, so they're in Tamworth.
They're in dire straits with their depth at the moment, particularly in the halves. So Benji might have to put the boots on.
If
Benji puts the boots on, he's probably still got
Benji Marshall, get your boots on, get your boots on for the lads.
For Jimmy's Ladbrokes.
Yeah. But just imagine throwing that, contacting Ladbrokes, Benji Marshall, anytime, try score.
Oh, wow.
Give you long odds for that. But yeah, that's my same game multi. It's got decent odds.
Good luck, mate. Good luck.
Thank you, mate.
And good luck to all the listeners that follow along. I don't follow the betting that much on the footy because I've never sort of done it, but I'll be keeping an eye this week.
That's good. Dragons taking on Souths. Dragons lost 3 in a row. Souths in licorice all sorts. So where do you go?
St George are pretty good against us on the weekend. The derby always brings the best out of the contest. I wouldn't say that it's always the most quality football game, but it's always a physical contest, and the conditions played into that even more. A bit of rain, bit of water down there at PointsBet Stadium, as it does. And they controlled possession. They were disciplined. They had led at half time. The Sharkies just found a bit in that second half, but the Dragons were still fighting. So I want to say the Dragons, but you just feel that at some stage, Souths have to break this.
Well, it's Latrell that's going to do it.
Well, Jack Whiten was brilliant last week.
Latrell's the one. He's back. There's a lot of dejected individuals there at Souths. A lot of dejected people. Some young people coming in for their, an opportunity, and he's going to set the tone.
You feel like that's what it's going to take. It's going to take one of those players, whether it's Jack or Latrell, who's just going to put the team on their back and just go, today I'm going to be the best player on the field. Today I'm going to make us win this game. That's what it feels like it has to be. And he's had 3 weeks on the sideline. No doubt he would have got a decent body of training work into himself over that 3 weeks. You can do amazing stuff in 3 weeks. And he'll be wanting to come out there. It's been a turbulent time at the club, losing their coach, the turmoil in the club that we've spoken about. It would not be a nice place to be going into every day.
I think Souths can get the win. They've got a really good record against the Dragons. I'm going to... Oh, Dragons fans
give him a special.
Yeah, I want to go. Yeah, I think South's upset.
Well, I'm going to go with South too, just because of how he spoke. It has to turn around. The scoreline last week was not flattering, but I think that didn't justify the effort that went into that game. So, if they can start like they did last week against Penrith, find a little bit of confidence, they might have enough in. I'm going to tip South too.
Yeah, well, we've covered this game in depth already. Next on the rundown, Storm v Sharks. Quickly, where you going?
Got to go the Sharks, mate.
I'm with you. I'm with you on the Sharks. Roosters.
Actually, did my first tipping comp this year as the ladder.
It's horrible, isn't it?
The ladder. Yeah, I've never done it before, but I had the Sharks at number one.
Did you?
Not for
yeah.
Everyone laughed at me.
Everyone
thought it was just because I love the Sharks. It was my favourite team, but I knew. I looked into the crystal ball and said the Sharks number one.
Roosters taking on the Warriors. This should be a great game.
That could be the game of the round.
I reckon I'm with you. Warriors just need to. They need.
Where are they sitting? Are they sitting like 14th or 13th? 14th. It's almost getting to the stage now where it's must win, right? They're
14th, 3 wins, 1 draw, 5 losses. And when you look at, I guess, making predictions ahead to the finals, there's not many teams that will play in the 8 that will have lost, with all due respect, to the Knights, the Titans, and the Dragons.
Yeah.
With all due respect, I don't, especially not top 4 teams if that's where they're going to be. If they're going to replicate last year, you're not going to lose to those 3. You can't afford, you can maybe afford to drop 1 game against one of those 3 teams. You can't afford to drop 3.
Well, that's where I was getting to the stage where I was going to say it's almost getting desperate for them, because not for top 8, there's still plenty of time for them to make the top 8, but the top 4 is also important. The teams in that bottom half of the 8, there's always a dream and there's always a hope. There's always a prayer. But history just shows, unless you're in that top 4, you do not win the grand final. And there's a couple of common denominators. Is you need to be a top 4 defensive team and you need to be in that top 4 to win. So,
one thing that might buck the trend this year, if the Broncos can finish 5th or 6th without Reynolds, they've got a late bye, which is... People don't underestimate the bye schedule.
Late in the year.
If you've got a late bye, you are laughing. But yeah, Roosters Warriors, where we at? Spencer Leniu returns as well after that lengthy layoff.
I'm going to go the Roosters. I just think, the Warriors aren't in the best shape with their game, and Origin's just around the corner. I feel like Teddy's warming up. He wants to sort of put his best foot forward and retain that number 1 in the captaincy, and he was great last week, and I see him playing well, heading this little period. So if he's playing well, the Roosters are hard to beat. So I'll go the Roosters.
I'm with you on that. Roosters.
And Cheese is obviously focused. He's training today. He's not
very
doing a podcast.
Focused as always. Never underestimate the focus of Brandon Smith. Last game, hello Points Fest. Titans versus the Cowboys. If this isn't an absolute triathlon, I'll give it up. Watch it rain out.
Titans for me.
You got Titans?
I got Titans.
Do you reckon they're going to be shitted by the news of Fifita and they'll be a bit dejected?
I thought they were good last week against Melbourne. They were probably unlucky not to win that game. The week before they beat... who'd they beat?
Warriors in New Zealand.
The week before that, they almost beat Canberra down in Canberra. I think they're playing well. I think that they're missing some players. And at the moment, I wouldn't say that they're defending well and commitment, but they're playing a little bit as individuals. And sometimes that's hard to deal with because AJ Brimson's just going to pop up and make a play. Brian Kelly is just going to pop up and make a play. Cam Pereira. Foreign's been good. Semi's been good.
Didn't these two just play each other like 2 weeks ago? It felt like
it wasn't.
They have played, yeah.
I'm going to tip the Titans.
I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go Cowboys in this one.
Well, they were poor last week against Dolphins.
But then they were really good against the Penrith Panthers. There's a lot of inconsistency. I think this competition is open there's probably 5 teams that if they can get a grip of themselves and play consistent football, they'll catapult themselves into the top 8. It's fucking easy for me to say it. Very difficult to apply.
It's funny. I was doing a chat before this with someone about footy. I was talking about why Penrith are so good. Like they're outside backs. They carry hard out of the backfield. Their middles, they front load defensively, and they just constantly put that field position and possession pressure on you. And I said, it sounds easy. It's easy to do that.
Why don't we all do that?
Yeah. It might be simple in some ways, but it's hard to do. It's hard to do in this competition.
All right. Well, we've got some great questions from the listeners. They have been a bit disappointing recently. So thank you, listeners, for getting your act together and coming up with some great questions. Not really many football-related ones, but let's have a go at this one. This is NJ Walker _S's response to our call for some better questions. Would you rather have the same 3 meals every day forever or never drink beer again? That is not even a question.
Yeah. Well, you know my answer to that.
Yeah.
Give me the same 3 meals right every day.
I'd go full English for breakfast, and then you can mix and match. You can just make it into an eggs on toast. Yeah. You don't have to eat your bacon.
So you're picking your 3 meals too?
Oh, no, I'm just going to... No, I'm not going to go that far. Down that rabbit hole. I definitely need more.
You know what? I'd let Nath pick my meals for me if I just could keep beer. It'd be fine. Nath, you can pick my meals, brother.
Yeah. Oh, and NJ Walker, I'm definitely just sticking to the same. Every day is Groundhog Day. Okay, we got Matty Sherrick's response. You're both head coaches with a war chest. Who do you want at your club and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm going to go Isaiah.
Yeah, he's a good pick.
I think Nathan Cleary will win you a premiership, but if you're starting a club,
you need that middle. You need that middle type.
That geezer in there. Look, and people, Reece Walsh would be amazing.
Yeah.
Ponga would be amazing, but I think one player, I'd be picking Isaiah. I love what he brings.
He's such a good player. He rarely makes a mistake in his decision making. You know, and people say he's a middle forward and he distributes through the middle, but it's when the pass, it's when the run, it's when the pass out the back. Like we talked about Carrigan before in his service. Like he rarely makes the wrong decision. He's a quality player. I don't know who I would go. Maybe a Harry Grant or a. Or a Nathan. Like it's hard to go past those guys just because what they do.
And how much they improve the people around. How much they improve the people around them. I've got one question from Dan Sargentson, 23, an old England teammate of mine. Played at the Gold Coast Titans for a while.
I know Sarge. I've met Sarge before,
Great lad.
Yeah. Did he play the Cowboys for a bit?
Titans.
Yeah.
He's contacted me. How much would you pay to rewatch the Wayne Bennett Tabasco sauce scenario? Sarge, I reckon, like legitimately, I'd pay $5,000 to be like in on that massage table and look up and see Wayne Bennett go to pour a glass of orange juice into the pre-rimmed Tabasco sauce laden glasses. Like that was.
Do you drink it?
Oh yeah, he drank it. He went and then he poured another one. because he thought it was
The orange juice was spicy.
Yeah, no. So he got big. He poured one glass of orange juice, had a drink, shook his head, and then he poured another one. He was like coughing his guts out. We were fucking howling.
That's brilliant.
Like, absolutely
That's so brilliant.
howling. Speaking of pranks, Sam.Thomas15. What's the best prank you've pulled on a teammate?
Well, I wasn't like, we had some pretty serious guys in our team who you didn't want to get in prank wars with. Like, we had like Luke Lewis, Bo Ryan, Bryce Gibbs back in the day. Even more recently, Royce Hunt. Like, you don't want to get into a prank war with him. Like, recently, he took the tyres off one of the boys' car. Like, took the tyres, put it on bricks, and went home. Like, Ronnie Mulatalo, he was just stuck there. His car was on bricks.
That makes me laugh because it happened to him. I was thinking about who put maybe like a Tom Hazelton you'd be gutted for, but like a guy like Ronaldo, like beautiful guy. He's come under. He's a friend of the show, but it's probably more funny that it happened to him.
He's done other things. I kind of stayed out of it. I was very political. I just sort of played the both sides and leave me out of it. But mate, there's stories about Bryce Gibbs putting like fish in people's car. Like going next level, and that's always the worry in footy teams. Like someone trying to one up someone, and there's a line, and it always gets crossed, and
it causes upset. Yeah, one of the best I've heard about, which is disgusting but brilliant, is I think it was the old school Dragons players. So it was somebody's birthday, and they've met at this restaurant, like with the wives and girlfriends as well.
I think I know this.
And they've bought this particular player a present, wrapped it up. Players opened it, and it's an actual shit in a box.
I know who did that, and I've heard that story before. I won't bring it up on the podcast because there's some lines we don't cross, but
I am not
in front of everyone.
I am not, and all the partners were obviously clearly livid
stressed.
and not seeing the funny side of it. But I can understand. I can understand the comic. Yeah, but appeal.
For me, that's too far for me.
Yeah,
I don't enjoy that. Like that
probably is a bit. The line has gone.
Like the story that you say, I go, wow, that's like next level. If I was actually there in person, I'd be not a fan of that. Like that's when I talk about the lines, I'm like that sort of humor doesn't get to me.
That is like on the bone. That's like. Obviously appalling for. I think that the problem with that is the other diners. That you just be like, this is like you when you start to affect other people like outside of that group, that's probably when it becomes a big issue. But it would be so bloody difficult not to piss yourself laughing.
I hear. That for me is a little bit too far. I might be call me a prude or I don't know.
I tend to agree with you. I think that is maybe a step too far. Josh Morris spoke about the time his number plates got changed. That was pretty funny. He was not happy.
Well, again, another Royce Hunt one. He actually took like the windscreen out of a car once. I don't know how he did it and changed it over. Changed it over with another one. Yeah, with a different color. It was a different color windscreen. He got in a bit of trouble too because it was a sponsor car. So,
whose car was it?
Who was it? Might have been, it wasn't Brady Newley. I don't know. It was, I can't remember. But so it escalated from, it might have been Nico's. It might have been Nico's car. Because Nico threw his stuff in the ice bath. So floated his bag and his training gear to the bottom of the ice bath. And then, like I said, escalate. All of a sudden, it's a broken windscreen and trouble with the sponsors.
Yeah, so message out there. Anybody, pranks are good. Don't cross the line.
Yes.
Prank
responsibly.
Please prank responsibly. Imagine what you could be pranking instead. You laugh sometimes, you cry more.
Talking about, sorry, not pranks, but bloopers. It's your turn. You're due for a blooper,
mate. What about that? By the way, I'm guilty by association. The previous laughing fit. I'm not on that read. Like, but people have said, "Oh, you botched that up." I have nothing to do
Which
with
one?
that.
Innovative.
No, the innovative one.
Was
Yes, that was me.
But no. But I wrote on the story. I put my hand up. So that's my.
Yeah,
bad.
but people think that I'm involved. I was just there.
Yeah,
I was an innocent bystander.
Well, you're guilty by association.
Exactly.
Now that
yeah.
it was my blooper,
Yeah.
it's time for you.
Yeah.
And people actually, a lot of people think that either me or Emma farted in the before because Emma's holding her nose, but it's got nothing to do with that.
no.
I actually mixed up the lines. So it's meant to say, are you getting the winter chills? And then the next line is like fixing your hot water. But to start off, I got like my words mixed up. I said, Emma, are you hot?
Yeah.
So you lost it, and then I lost it, and then Emma lost it. I tried to rescue it, come back, and I was nowhere. Poor Emma, she's got to put up with me and you.
Well, a great addition to the show is going to be Jason
Yeah,
Dimitri
that's
starting
good.
this Thursday. Really looking forward to him being on. But if we start getting the giggles, he could just walk. Anyway, Wado, it's been absolutely fantastic to sit and talk with you, as always. Thanks for joining the show, and we'll catch you through the week. And yeah, thanks again. Thanks, listeners. Take it easy.
Graham crackers and cheese next time.
Sounds good.